discover new land or new things and start a new thing, something along those lines. It's morning. I'm not in dictionary mind, so excuse my lack of words in good grammar and thesaurus rex text. Right? The thesaurus ain't working today. So the reason they called them Glasshouse Mountains, Captain Cook's mates, right, is because it reminded them of, I think, the glass furnaces back in their homeland. And because they were looking from the sea most of the time, so what would they see from the sea? Well, they'd see these great mountains rising from the land. Probably 50 k's, 30, 50 k's inland. And obviously there were islands, passages, and really hard passages to get through out there. I've seen ships going past to the east, because I lived to the east of these, and I lived beneath these to the east. So from the mountain to the sea I have lived, from the seas to the mountains, and then on the other side of the mountain range now, further north. And I've looked at them from where those passages and islands are, from living there, and they're beautiful from there, and they're beautiful from beneath, and they're beautiful from above. But what Cook and his mates didn't know is that there were already people who had given these mountains not only names, but energy that they received from these mountains were the reason why the names were given. They didn't just look at them and say, that looks like a glass furnace. The glass-housed mountains they shall be. That's what we shall name them, so we can identify them on our maps. So that's what they did, and that's how it is. 1770 or whenever they came back and did their scout out, because that's what people do when they're scouting out new lands. They suss out where the water is, and if someone's already there first, they go, hey, that's the water source around here. That's what we can bathe and drink from, eh? Well, do they worry about which ones they're shitting and pissing in and which ones they're drinking from? Or do they just make sure they bleach and chlorinate the F out of them, right? So the original people of this land knew that there was a mother and a father of those mountains, and there were children from those mountains. And there's been a lot of respect from many in the lands to say, hey, that's the head of grandma, that's the head of grandpa, grandfather, a grandmother and a grandfather. Don't go stepping on their sheds, their heads, upon their shoulders but not upon their heads. And the amount of people that demand to conquer the mother and father are rife. And the amount of people to turn stories around to say, yeah, I've climbed on the children's heads before, but I it's still not great to do. I still only hang around the shoulders and the foothills. Walk around the mother and father. The mother had some footholds, I've heard, to help you if you needed. And those footholds were not enough to support me climbing. I watched people slide down, rip the arse out of their pants, and I thought, for what? For what do I need to conquer this mountain? What purpose do I need today to risk myself to say, look how good I am? I climbed on mother's head. Father was just a crumpled mess. No wonder he's looked out to sea and cried. For how long? For the son who didn't hear. Protect the mother, the floods are coming. Protect mother and the small children, the floods are coming. Did the son hear what the father heeded? He just looked at mother and thought she was capable. Look at her. She's capable of herself. Look at what she's done all these years. Look at what mother's done. She is more than capable. So the son went off and played whatever the story is in that. He disregarded father's instructions. The floods came. Mother was unsafe. And what the son didn't quite know. Well, mother was pregnant. Did father need to tell? son all of the information of why he had to keep mother safe. Unfortunately, when directions are given from those with wisdom to those who don't need to know all of the information, well, when the floods come, where does the punishment come in for the son who didn't heed the warning from his father that allowed all of the people, all of the siblings of that son, all of the children of the mother and the father to become unsafe? So the story gets told to each of the generations down of what happened when the great floods came and the son did not heed the father's instructions, and the pregnant mother and the children, the weakest, became vulnerable, unsafe, and how many were lost because of it. So I'm heading west now from the Glass House Mountains. But what time are they called? I mean, I've been driving up and down the Great Uniting Range the past 100,000 kilometres in the past 3 years, and well, really, actually, I've been a passenger for a few years before. So we ask, what is it that we need to heed? So therefore let the motorcyclist round. What a kind thing to do, hey? I'm a big vehicle and they're on windy roads. They don't want to have to wait as slow as I can when they can't see ahead of them. So we keep going. Yeah, let's go that way today. Let's look on the waters. For, those waters are where the water goes to when the Father cries, out to the east. That's what creates all the creeks and rivers, lakes, and dams. Let's go past the big dam they needed to collect all our water, hey? And all the pipelines they needed to make when our water, to the south, to the city, to the, where the ports are. I wonder where they would have come into the deep channels. So I saw the opposite to deciduous. When the winter the trees turn. Like that one, they turn a little orange and the leaves fall completely. Otherwise they stay green. Evergreen through the summer and autumn, winter, or spring and winter. Let's go through properly, shall we? Can't be bothered, I told you my thesaurus ain't right. Well, hello lost treasures around. Hello cyclist walker. 15th of September 2016 I acquired it completely. And I said I will look after this country. I will keep country here while others won't. So the reverberation went from a strong no to a no. And I was told no as each moment happened. But I have my own lineage and my own energy, and I cannot fall into theirs because that is not mine. I come from Gaelic, probably Nordic. Who knows what level of African lines ended up in mine. I've come from the west of this country. I've come from the east of this country. I've come from royalty levels of either lines or control. I have come from slavery in the north of Africa. I've come from all many lines. So how do I practice? There is the massive dam. My, she's mighty how they've captured her. But I've also been on the other side after the floods when it was closed. You may put your orange barriers up, darling, but I can step over orange tape. And your council people, your parks people, chat to me in those spaces because we are doing it for the same reason. Unfortunately, they are under a contract. Ha! That's the word of what they can and can't do. I'm not! Hardy, hardy, ha 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 ha! I'm not. So the beauty of it is I can act as I wish in any space. So I can act as a park ranger, knowing exactly what it was 20 years ago. I can act as a surf lifesaver, as I was until 22 years ago, when it cost more. It used to only cost about $30 a year to be a volunteer lifesaver, then it went up to $160. I was working maybe 15 hours a week on Oz Study, not Oz Study, but Oz whatever, the New Start with the study, who knows, there's so many terms. We spend more hours with Centrelink than we do actually being able to live our life for what it's meant to provide services for. But Services Australia, whatever they changed their name to so that their corporation doesn't get incorporated with the corporate troubles that have been in the past. I would rather not have any connection with them as I had it for 16 years while I was essentially not a sole trader and on a paid certificate through retail. But, you know, there comes a time when that does not equal the economy. So I've been a sole trader since June 2020. Thank you, universe, for putting me in that position, because having to deal with that control, I witnessed it from a space of motherhood, but, you know, I gave up those careers to be a mother, and now that has also been taken from me. So now I have neither my careers, my sole traderships, nor my mother. say, they did it, see? Officer, see? And if you can't prove it quick enough, if you're living your life too much to prove your innocence, unfortunately, in this day and age, you are guilty until proven innocent. So guess what? Let's prove the innocence. Because, you know, I've been trying to prove my innocence through a system for 3.5, 4 years. So let's prove the system's innocence. Because, sorry, this one's only 40K. I used to love this town until certain characters moved in and changed the energy in it. And that's all we need to do to a town, to shift the energy to make it down, right? And unfortunately, the people who come in to pay, peasants, don't like that sort of energy around here. So we lose out people who've been here for 20 years. 20 years people have been, you know, working in a retail space with their clients, and then all the yippies come in. I see you yippies. How much? Way too much. $8 for a coffee. And you've got people giving $1,200 a fortnight on Services Australia. With boomers saying, we earned this, you whippersnappers eat avocado on toast, and that's why you can't afford anything. Yeah, we also can't afford groceries. We can't afford a house with enough space to store as much shit as you guys have over the years. Be like, I've got this vintage stuff that's worth so much, darling. I'm going to open a vintage shop because I've got enough money in equity to just do nothing with my energy. Have another multiverse, hey? That's what I think of you. Anywho, did I do that on camera? But that's all that